Hey guys, I'm Tracy with Just Dig It Farms. Today I'm talking to you about lavender, the queen of herbs. Plus I have a really special guest that is going to share with us today on how to grow lavender in the South. So I'm glad you guys are hanging out with me this afternoon. We've got a fun afternoon ahead. So let's make some lavender lemonade and go get in the garden. Okay, so what you do is I make up some lemonade first of all. I boiled some water, poured it in my teapot, and then I've got my little tea ball here that I use. Filled up my little tea ball with the dried lavender blooms. I let it sit in here and steep. It's probably been steeping for 20 minutes. I think 15 to 20 minutes is good. So I've been letting that steep, and then I'm just going to pour me about a cup. And add it to my mixture of lemonade here. So this was probably about 4 cups of lemonade and a cup of lavender tea. Now I'm just going to pour me up a cup of lemonade. Oops, I'm going to make a mess. Put me some honey in here. I like it really sweet. It's a lot of honey. Stir it up. You can make up your lemonade and use sugar if you want to. However you normally make lemonade, all you're doing is just adding a little lavender tea to it. Now I'm just going to add some ice to this and we'll go get in the garden. It's hot out here, y'all, so I'm going to sit in the shade as long as I can. Let me tell you about these 2 great books. This one is Lavender, The Grower's Guide. It's a beautiful book. It's Virginia McNaughton. And it tells all about how to grow lavender, harvesting, drying it, tells about diseases and insects, and then it gives all the different kinds of species and cultivars of lavender. It's got beautiful, beautiful pictures in it. It's just a beautiful book all about growing lavender. I got this probably 20 years ago at Petals before I ever even thought about working there. It's just a really pretty book all about lavender. And then this is my favorite book that I own probably. This is Southern Herb Growing by Madelene Hill and her daughter Gwen Barclay. And this is my absolute favorite book. It's all about growing herbs in the South. And I believe that this book is out of print. I don't even know if you can buy this book or not. A friend of mine gave me this, I don't even know how long ago, 15 or more years ago. She was cleaning out her library of magazines and books, and she brought me a stack of books like this high of books and gardening magazines. And this little treasure was in there, and I love this book. It is wonderful. It's got all kinds of pretty pictures. It tells you all about growing herbs in the South, cooking with herbs, recipes, and just great advice from a great herb gardener. Madelene Hill and Rosemary Gladstar are like my herb mentors. I have learned so much from them and from all their books and resources from them, and this is a treasure. So if you find this, grab it, because you won't be sorry. It's a good book. It's one of my favorites. It's always a go-to for me. I always go to this book and Rosemary Gladstar's book when it comes to herbs. So lavender originated in India in the Middle East. It's a Mediterranean herb, and it's grown mostly commercially for the extraction of the essential oil. That's what there's a lot of lavender farmers that just grow fields of lavender, which I only dream of. But they grow it to be able to extract the oil from the plant, and it's used a lot medicinally and a lot in beauty products. Lavender comes from the Latin word lavare, which means to wash. And it has been used for centuries, over 2,000 years. So there's some really cool history facts that I have I've learned about lavender. First of all, the Egyptians used it in their mummification process, and they also used it for their perfume. And the Greeks learned from the Egyptians, and the Romans learned from the Greeks. And they all used lavender in cooking, bathing, washing their hair, perfumes, all different kinds of beauty products for treating ailments, perfuming their homes, washing their clothes, washing their linens. So it's been used for a long time. This is very interesting to me. The ancient Greeks called it Nardus, from the Syrian city of Narda was the name of the city. And that's where they grew lavender. So the Greeks called it Nardus, which is commonly called nard, and it was said to be one of the holy herbs which was used to prepare spikenard. So spikenard is, I don't know how to pronounce the Latin word. I'll kill it. I'll totally kill it. So I'm just going to put it at the bottom of the screen. And lavender is lavandula. And so they're actually two totally different plants. When you study it, when you really research it and study it, they're actually two totally different names. Spikenard is actually a flowering plant of the valerian family, and it grows in the Himalayas of Nepal. In a lot of my research, studying about the history of lavender, I read a lot that Mary actually used lavender to anoint baby Jesus, and she used it when Jesus was crucified to prepare his body for burial. But I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about that, because spikenard and lavender was two different plants, and when it's referred to in the Bible, it's referred to her using spikenard. And I think that the confusion comes in there because the Greeks called lavender nard. I don't really know if spikenard, the holy oil, I don't know if spikenard was actually had lavender in it or what, but it's two totally different plants. So I don't know if that's just where the confusion came in because of what the Greeks called it or what. But anyway, I want to research this some more and find out if lavender was actually used to anoint baby Jesus and Jesus when Mary was preparing him for burial. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not, because it is two different plants, like I said. But anyway, I'm going to research it some more. It's very interesting. If anybody knows any information about that, or if you know like a good resource to go to get the truth about that, let me know. Anyway, I love that. I think that's very cool. During the Middle Ages, around the 15th century, during the Black Plague, I don't know if this is legend or if this is truth, but it's referenced a whole lot in a whole lot of different places, and I think it very well could be true. But there was a group of French thieves, and their family was an apothecary family. So they came up with this recipe, this concoction of different herbs that they used to protect themselves as they would go into the dead people's home that was attacked by the plague. They would go into their homes and steal and rob from them. And they would put this oil, this concoction all over them that would protect them from getting the plague. It was called the Four Thieves vinegar. And the original recipe was believed to be a concoction of herbs steeped in vinegar for a few weeks. And lavender was believed to be one of those herbs. When the authorities caught these thieves, they were like, how are you not getting sick? How are you going into these people's homes and robbing them when the dead bodies are in the home, going in and robbing them, and you're not getting the plague and you're not getting sick? And they made a deal with them. If the thieves would tell them the recipe and the concoction, then they would let them go free. So they shared the recipe and got their freedom. That's where Young Living Thieves comes from, the essential oil thieves. That's where they got that from. That's why it's called thieves. It's a concoction of a lot of the herbs that they used in that original recipe. Now, lavender is not in that thieves blend. The blend of thieves is actually clove, lemon, cinnamon, and eucalyptus. And lavender's not in there, but, you know, maybe it should be. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if it's legend or if it's truth, but it very well could be the truth, because thieves is like 99% antibacterial and antifungal, so it very well could be the truth. Now, Queen Victoria was very passionate about lavender, very passionate. She even appointed an official purveyor, which is a person who supplies foods and provisions. She appointed an official person. Her name was Miss Sarah Sprules, and she used lavender. Her job, her sole job, was to use lavender throughout the whole castle. That was her job. The queen wanted lavender flowers strewn all over the castle floors daily, so that when her and other people walked across the floors, they'd have the fragrance of lavender as they walked. The queen also wanted fresh bundles of lavender brought to her daily, every single day. She wanted her linens washed in lavender. Everything in the castle was cleaned and disinfected and washed in lavender. The furniture was polished in lavender. The linens were washed in lavender. The floors, everything. Lavender was everywhere in Queen Victoria's castle. The queen's passion for lavender was very infectious, because then every fine English lady followed her queen, and they used lavender on themselves and in their homes as well. So there were street vendors all over the streets with bundles of lavender for sale. They would sing songs like Lavender Blue to get attention, to draw people over to buy their bundles of lavender. So I looked up Lavender Blue song, and it goes, lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When you are king, dilly dilly, I shall be queen. And there's more lyrics to it, but I think that's pretty cool. I love the history of herbs and flowers and plants. I just love reading about our ancestors and all the people before us, how they used plants and herbs as medicine and as part of their everyday life. I just love knowing the history about it. Lavender is in the mint family. It's not invasive like mint is. It's not just going to multiply and just spread everywhere and take over your world like mint does, but it is in the mint family. And there's many different kinds of varieties and cultivars and species of lavender. And one of the big questions that we get all the time at Petals, and that I have, is how do you grow lavender in the South? We seem to have like one really good year, maybe 2 good years out of a lavender plant, and then it just fades away, dies out, starts looking bad, and is gone, and you have to replace it. And I've always just said, well, it's worth it to me. Every year I add lavender to my garden. I know that next year some of it's going to play out, and I just want to always have lavender growing in my garden. It's absolutely beautiful. It smells heavenly, and I use it a lot for a lot of different purposes. So I want lavender to always be in my garden. But I was at work one day, and Jason was sharing with a customer. There was a customer asking him, how do you grow lavender in the South? I've tried everything and I can't get it to grow. So Jason started sharing this story about a time when he met Madelene Hill and asked her that very question, and she gave him some awesome advice on how to grow lavender in the South. And I got Jason the other day to take a few minutes and share with us his conversation with Miss Madelene Hill.
Hey, good morning. My name is Jason Powell, and I'm the owner of Petals from the Past. And I'm here this morning with my favorite person to work with, Tracy Britnell from JustDigitFarms. Hey, Tracy.
Hey.
We want to talk about lavender this morning, for sure. And one of the things I had shared with Tracy a while back was, back in 2004, I had an opportunity to go speak in Texas at an Oktoberfest herb gardening program. And I had the opportunity not only to talk about what we were growing in Central Alabama, but there was a dinner that night, and I saw Madelene Hill, who many of you may know if you're interested in herbs at all, that she was quite the pioneer of herb gardening in the South, and she was able to prove that you could grow lavender among many other herbs in South Texas. And for anybody to be able to do that, that's somebody that you want to get to know. So I noticed she had an open space next to her for dinner that night, and I raced over there and beat everybody to it. And I said, Miss Hill, I said, would you please help me to know how to grow lavender? I feel so guilty because of the amount of lavender I have killed trying to just have success. And she said, Jason, she said, I'm going to tell you 3 things that you need to know to be successful with lavender, and then you'll grow it from now on. And I listened, dropped everything that I was holding, and paid close attention. And she said, first of all, you're growing the wrong type of lavender. too often we are offered English types of lavenders only. This is Lavandula angustifolia. There are varieties of it like Munstead, and this is Hidcote, for example. And while it's a beautiful lavender in a container, it cannot handle our heavy clay soils, the moisture that we get here when we have 55 inches of annual rainfall. And that combination just tends to wipe out English lavender. So she said, take that off of your list. She said, you need to be growing either Spanish lavender, like we're looking at here, Lavandula stoicus, which this is a variety called Otto von Quasti, but it has a shorter bloom, 2 bunny ears right on the top, but it's a wonderful variety of lavender that happens to bloom twice. Or, she said, you can also grow the lavender intermediate crosses. This is a wonderful cross called Provence. There's another one called Grosso, and these are just interspecific crosses between English lavender and other forms of lavender that actually can handle the heat, they can handle humidity. And these are the ones that she said you're going to have success with if you grow them. Get rid of the English lavender, grow Spanish or some of the intermediate crosses. Now we've got more opportunity. We have varieties like Phenomenal that are out now that are very, very good in our garden. And she said the second thing, she said, think about the pH of your soil. The pH of our soils typically is 5.3 to 5.5, so that's very acidic. Lavender really prefers a neutral type of soil or slightly more alkaline. And so the second thing you got to do is you got to make sure that have lime. Bring the pH of that soil up. And then she asked me, she said, Jason, tell me about that clay soil you're growing in. She knew about Alabama soil. And I said, that is red clay. And she said, well, think about when you dig a hole and you fill it with water. Think about how long it takes it to drain. She reminded me lavenders have to have good drainage. And so she said, when you're digging a hole, you're preparing it, not only are you going to incorporate lime to raise the pH a little bit, but she said you got to put compost in there or something to loosen that soil so that that water will have somewhere to drain and grow away from. Where she's gardening, and she's gardened when she started her nursery in Cleveland, Texas, she was gardening on rocky ground. And where you think about where lavender performs the best out in the northwest, where they have less rainfall and rocky, craggy types of soil, it does extremely well there. And so since then, after Mrs. Hill's advice, we have shifted over and we're having great success with Spanish lavenders and intermediate crosses. We're very careful to incorporate compost and lime into our soil so that it will drain. And I had the opportunity to have a dinner with a phenomenal woman who I miss greatly. She passed away in 2009. If you come across a book called Southern Herb Growing that she wrote with her daughter, Gwen Barclay, you snatch it up and hold on to it and don't let it go. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Jason. I've got a lot of lavender growing along my border here to my potager garden. This one is Spanish lavender. And this one is Provence, I believe. I want to get some Phenomenal. We've just been out of it at work. But I'm going to get some and add a lot of Phenomenal to the garden. It just is so beautiful. Here's some I added this year. Those that I just showed you were all added last year. That's a new one for this year. Spanish. And Spanish. And I've got a bunch more over at the garden shed. You just cannot have too much lavender in your garden. You cannot. As far as lavender in the garden as a companion plant, it is a must-have to grow lavender. It attracts so many different beneficials and pollinators, and honeybees love lavender. They love it. And it's just beautiful. I mean, it's just gorgeous in the garden. This silver color of the foliage is just such a pretty contrast with a lot of other flowers. It's beautiful in a rose garden. It's beautiful in a vegetable garden. It's beautiful in every garden. There's not a garden where lavender would not be beautiful. When you brush by it and you just smell it, the fragrance of it is just heavenly. And it just uplifts your spirits, and it just makes you happy. Just the aromatherapy of it is just awesome, but it's so beautiful in the garden. The leaves and the flowers are both edible. If you're gonna use the leaves, then it's really best to harvest the leaves before it flowers. The essential oil is more concentrated in the leaves at this point. Once it starts flowering, then all the essential oil is more concentrated in the flower. When you're harvesting the leaves or the flowers, it's best to harvest early morning when the dew's lifted and it's kind of dried a little bit, but early morning, that's when a higher concentration of the oils is in the plant, is early morning. If you're harvesting for dried flowers, the best thing to do is to cut the flower when the first two little flower buds have opened up, like on this one. See that one? And that one's starting to open, but the rest of them really aren't opened up yet. So if you're harvesting to dry the flower, that's the best time to do it. If you harvest it when all the flowers have opened up, then the flowers will just fall off during the drying process. But if you're harvesting to use the fresh flowers, it's best to cut the spikes when about a third of the buds are opened up. So like this one is a good one to harvest for fresh flowers, and this one would be a better one to harvest for dried flowers because it's just got a few buds opened. But this one's got probably around a third of them opened up. As far as drying the lavender, what I like to do is cut the stems. Cut them where they're pretty long. I don't have a whole lot blooming right this minute, and I'm just gonna cut all of them. Got this one. But I like to go ahead and cut the stems long, turn them upside down. I bring a rubber band out here in the garden with me while I'm out here, and I just tie them up like this, wrap them up, bundle them up. And then I hang them from a little hook in my laundry room. And I just let them hang there and dry. And it smells so good when you walk by. Now another way you can dry lavender is just to take the blooms, the stem, the leaves, the whole plant, whatever you want to use of it, and just lay it flat on like a tray or something and put it in a cool, dark space and just let it dry. It'll dry really well like that. You can put it in a dehydrator and dry it. Dries really well, and it holds the bloom really well, and it holds the fragrance of it for a really long time. If you're drying lavender in a dehydrator, just about all of your herbs, when you're dehydrating them in a dehydrator, you want to use a really low temperature, like a 95 to 100 degrees. You want it to dehydrate really slow, really low. Let's talk about all the medicinal uses of lavender. My goodness, there's a reason why it's called the Queen of Herbs. It has a lot of different vitamins and minerals in it, and lavender has quite often been used for relaxation, uplifting the spirits. It's helpful with anxiety and depression. It's got so many things, I can't remember everything. I have to get my book here. It's a good pain reliever. It helps with sore muscles, respiratory issues like sinus, bronchitis, cold, flu. It helps to eliminate the body of mucus, so that's really helpful with that. It helps with all kinds of skin issues like acne, burns, insect bites, improves sleep, aids in insomnia, headache relief, sinus, tension, migraines, helps with motion sickness, helps blood to circulate in your body, good for skin and hair growth, uplifts your spirits, cell regenerating, wound repairing, calming, soothing, relaxing. Lavender is what got me really into essential oils. I started using them. My friend got me connected with them a long time ago because I had such bad sinus problems and allergies. And I started with using lavender, peppermint, and lemon. Those are like the three big sinus mucus oils to use. So I take the lavender and I put it here and here. I put it all through here. I put it right here so I can smell it. And then I take peppermint and put right here and breathe it in deep. It helps open up my sinuses. I put peppermint up here on my temples. It helps with headache. And then I take lemon and I put all down behind my ears like this. And I just rub it down like that. And it just helps to move that drainage and stuff down and like out of your body. So I use these 3 oils every single day. And this is a couple of products that I've made. Lavender linen spray, which is awesome. We just spray this on our pillow and on the bed sheets and on the guest bed and stuff like that. And I make my bug spray. I make my own bug spray, and I use lavender in it. If you haven't seen that video, you can go check out that video showing you how I make my bug spray. And the big thing that we love, that we use every single night, all this is coconut oil and lavender oil and vetiver oil. Lavender helps you go to sleep, it calms you, it relaxes you, it helps you go to sleep. Vetiver is another essential oil, and it helps you to stay asleep. So I mix the vetiver, lavender, and I also put thieves in here. I mix all that up in coconut oil, and we rub this on the bottom of our feet every night. We do this every single night, and it just helps us to get to sleep. Gina and I both love this. So that's just a couple of ways that I use lavender, and of course I diffuse it. That's what I've got diffusing right now is my lavender essential oil. I love to just fill the home with the smell of lavender. My friend Holly over at Simply Lake and Lace is a big Young Living essential oil girl, and she knows a lot about oils. So if y'all haven't checked out her channel, y'all go check out her channel, Simply Lake and Lace, Holly Miner. And she's got all kinds of videos on there about essential oils and how to use them and how she uses them and what's good for what and that kind of thing. So y'all go check out her channel. It's really good. So essential oils are concentrated extracts from beneficial plants, and it's done like through a distillation process. I don't have the materials that you need to extract the oils from a plant, so I use Young Living oils because I know that these are 100%. There's no synthetic fillers in this at all. Is 100% oil from that plant, and that's why I choose Young Living, because I know that that's what I'm getting versus buying oil in a big box store or something, and there may be like 10% oil from the plant and the rest of it is like an oil filler, like an olive oil or some kind of filler. But I know that Young Living is 100% oil, so that's why I choose them. But I love my lavender essential oil. I don't think I could live without it. At the end of a long day of work, here on the farm or at Petals, I'll fill my bathtub up with hot water and put me some Epsom salt in there, and I'll put a couple of drops of lavender oil in there, and it just helps me to relax. It helps my muscles, my sore muscles, and it just helps me to relax. I use lavender all the time. This week, in my devotion, God gave me this scripture. It's Proverbs 14:30. A heart at peace gives life to the body. And I just kind of meditated on that all week long. A heart at peace gives life to the body. You know as well as I do, when you're stressed out or exhausted or overwhelmed and stressed, it takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on your health. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit of a worrier. I have things that weigh real heavy on my heart concerning my family, and I know all of you do too. We all have something that we worry about. We all have something that we're concerned about. I consider myself a person of faith. I mean, I trust God. I believe God is going to take care of us. I believe He holds us in the palm of His hands. I believe He's got us. I know worry is the opposite of faith, but I do worry. I mean, I'm just being real with you guys. I'm very emotional. I'm very sensitive. I care a lot about people and about my family, and I just carry it all. And this scripture that He gave me this week, I've really been meditating on that, because that worry and that stress and those burdens that I carry in my heart and on my shoulders, like, it takes a toll on your physical body. It takes a toll on your mental, your emotional body when you carry all of that. And I've been trying really hard this year to just focus on when those worries and those fears creep into my mind and into my heart, just giving them to God immediately. And quoting scripture that He's given me, just laying my family at His feet. I truly do believe that God gave us plants and herbs and food as medicine. And, you know, these essential oils come from the plants. This is the oil from the plant, just extracted, concentrated. And I know that God sent me these essential oils as just a tool for healing for my body and my sinuses, allergies, inner ear problems that I have, but also as a tool for emotional healing too, to be able to relax and for anxiety and for depression and for emotional issues. And I believe that the plants and the herbs and the food that God's put on this earth for us is medicine for our physical being and emotional healing. Let's talk about all the culinary uses of lavender. You can use lavender a lot of different ways in cooking. The thing to remember, I think, with that is just a little bit goes a long way, because it's going to give you a very floral flavor if you use a whole lot of it. The leaves of lavender has more of a sweet flavor, and the flowers of the lavender has more of a floral flavor. So just keep that in mind, and keep in mind definitely a little bit goes a long way. You can make an herbal salad dressing, a vinaigrette, which I'm going to show you how to do in just a minute. That's what we're having for dinner tonight. You can garnish your salads with lavender blooms. It makes them really pretty. Just use just a little bit though, you don't need much. And of course you can make a seasoning with lavender called Herbe de Provence, which is the flavor of France. Herbe de Provence is an herbal combination of lavender, thyme, basil, rosemary, tarragon, savory, marjoram, oregano, and bay leaf. So you can make a seasoning of that, and you can use that seasoning on meats, on vegetables. You can use that on just a lot of different things and different recipes. You can add lavenders to soups, to vegetables, to desserts and pastries, the blooms and the leaves you can add. I showed you guys when we talked about borage how I put borage in my ice cubes. You can put lavender blooms in your ice cubes and do that. Lavender lemonade, which I showed you guys that earlier today, how to make lavender lemonade, and it's really good and refreshing. Lavender sugar cookies. When the boys were little, I used to make lavender sugar cookies for them all the time. And I would love to tell you that I made homemade sugar cookies and all that stuff, but I didn't. I just went and bought the little package of sugar cookie mix and mixed that up and just sprinkled a little lavender blooms on top. You can make tea blends, and that's one thing that I do with like I keep my little lavender blooms in this old bottle that's dried, and you can just make up a little lavender tea with this and add some honey to it. You can crystallize the lavender blooms and add them on top of pastries, on top of cakes. I've never tried this, but it's always sounded so good to me, and one day I'm gonna make one. But a lavender lemon blueberry pound cake. Don't that sound good? I wanna try that one day. You can garnish ice cream with lavender. You can make lavender spritzers. There's so many different things you can do with lavender. It's great medicinally, it's great culinary, it's wonderful in the garden. I've got Jean and I fresh salad made up for dinner tonight. Don't that look good? With some cucumbers and little sun golds and cherry tomatoes from the garden. It's gonna be yummy. And I'm just going to sprinkle some of these lavender blooms over the top of it. And I'm gonna make this delicious salad dressing. It is a lavender honey salad dressing. So all you do is just put all this ingredients into a jar and shake it up, and you got your salad dressing. Super easy. So we got 6 tablespoons of olive oil. Then we've got 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinaigrette. Okay. And then we got, you could just use a tablespoon of lime juice, but I don't have lime juice, so I'm using my lime essential oil, and I'm going to use 3 drops. Don't take much. Remember, this stuff is concentrated. In fact, that was probably too much. And then I'm going to use my garlic clove, and I have a garlic press here, so I'm going to do this. And then a teaspoon of stone ground mustard. I'll get it out of here. I'm not the most graceful cook. Okay. And then 2 tablespoons of honey. Straight from the hive. Okay. And then 1 teaspoon of dried lavender blooms. Put your lid on here and shake it up. A whole lot of shaking. Get it mixed in really, really good. Let me taste it, see how it tastes. I think it needs just a little bit more honey, just a little bit. It up. This is so much better for you than salad dressings you buy in the store that's just full of sugar and all kinds of other stuff. We know exactly what's in this salad dressing. Very good. And we will pour this over our beautiful salad from the garden for dinner tonight.